Hello everybody, my name is Matt, and this summer I'm going to be the Challenge Course Director. Now, the challenges I usually give to kids and young adults involve being up in the trees. This time around, I've got something a little more mental for you. So I'm just going to ask a couple of trivia questions. Maybe you'll learn something new, maybe it's knowledge you already had, but we're going to get right into it. So my first question is, when was Johnsonburg Summer Camp and Retreat Center founded? The site was purchased in 1959 by the Synod of New Jersey, but our first summer wasn't actually until 1960. So we talked about when Johnsonburg officially became Johnsonburg. This next question is, who did we purchase the site from? So in 1959, the Synod of New Jersey purchased all original 415 acres from Stevens Institute of Technology for $25,000, and we traded a piece of property right next door to Stevens worth, I believe, $155,000 or something close to that. So yeah, pretty cheap deal. So when you're at Johnsonburg, you have a rare chance to look up at the stars and see them in their full glory, because there's so little light pollution around us. Now, obviously the stars are up in space. So my next question is, what is the only animal known to be able to survive in space without any sort of protection? So no humans, no monkeys, no dogs. What animal can survive on its own? Turns out the tardigrade, also known as the water bear, is capable of going into some sort of weird sustained hibernation that allows it to survive in the vacuum of space all on its own. So prior to the purchasing of the Johnsonburg site, the Synod of New Jersey operated 4 separate camps spread throughout the state. Can you name at least 2 of them? So, turns out there were, as we said, 4. There was one in Barnegat Bay, down in Seaside Heights, which is the one most people know about. However, there was also one operated out of Blair Academy, right next door to us today, in Blairstown, New Jersey. The other 2 are Stillwater, I believe the camp's name was Camp Dennis, and there was also one in Echo Hills. My next question is about a bird you don't typically see around Johnsonburg, and that is the penguin. What 2 flavors, and only those 2 flavors, are penguins capable of tasting? The answer is sour and salty. Penguins can't taste anything else. So that's enough for the history of Johnsonburg. Let's talk a little bit about the site as we know it today. So this next question is, how many cabins are in Lower Village? There are 10. Apple, ash, elm, elderberry, birch, box elder, cherry, chestnut, hickory, and hemlock. Each of these cabins, and the cabins in Upper Village as well, are all named after trees that are found on site. Now, we haven't had the site surveyed in a while, so there's no guarantee that all of these trees are still there. However, because of the conservation efforts, there's a good chance that most of them still are. When you talk about the modern site of Johnsonburg, it's hard not to mention Glover's Pond. So my next question is, how deep does our lake get? Now, this one's actually a bit of a toss-up. So the only two spots that have been measured, as far as I'm aware, are right off of the dock, where it gets to about 19 feet and 6 inches or so, and the middle of the lake, where the floating dock is now, and that is measured at about 29 feet and 8 inches. Now, rumor has it, apparently there is a pit, if you're looking at the lake from the dining hall, somewhere to the left that gets down to, depending on who you ask, anywhere from 60 to 80 feet deep. But again, as far as I'm aware, that's never actually been measured. While not something that can be found in Glover's Pond, scallops are one of the most common bivalves found in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. You know, the little shells? How many eyes can scallops have? Turns out, scallops can have up to 200 eyes, which is pretty incredible, especially considering the fact that they don't have a centralized brain. Instead, their nervous system is controlled by 3 pairs of something called ganglia.